Hi, I'm so excited you're here today, and hopefully you're here because you are excited about community building, and that probably means that you're a leader in your community.
Wherever you have community, things can get a little messy. Communities often struggle with gossip, misunderstandings, people working against each other, and all kinds of political and social challenges. We're going to talk about how to overcome those.
So, a few years ago, I was involved in a school community, and I was on a leadership team. But I was not the head leader. And the head leader of that team had a meeting with everyone and was trying to make a point and said to everyone in the middle of the meeting, what is the most important thing? What is the thing that I talk about is the most important? And everyone kind of looked at each other quizzically because none of us could really think about anything that he was on about regularly. And we're in a school and children, so maybe safety. Few people were hesitant to respond, but one person said safety. And the person in leadership shouted, "No, communication. I always say communication is the most important thing." Now, unfortunately, no one could say anything because he had not communicated that he felt communication was the important thing ever that any of us could remember. And the fact that he hadn't communicated that was a problem. And I think we still all joke about it today, but I think that should be obvious. Most people know communication is a really important thing in relationships, but it really is one of the hardest things to do. And this takes me to my first point, not necessarily about communication, but about vision. The religious among you may have heard the expression, without vision, the people perish. And it's so true. Without a direction, without a common goal, communities tend to scatter, and you will have leadership pop up here and there about someone having this initiative or that initiative. But if there's no shared vision, no shared goal, often the community just kind of falls apart and doesn't really go anywhere and often goes in unhealthy directions. So one of the things that I feel in my years of experience being under leadership and in leadership is one of the most important and first points is that vision and communicating that vision. Now, a lot of organizations have a mission statement, a vision statement, something like that. Whoa, time to interject here, Catherine. A lot of people ask me the difference between a vision statement and a mission statement. They want to know what's the difference. So this is how I think about it. A vision statement tells where are we going? Thinks about that question. Whereas a mission statement is really how will we get there? So that's the difference. One is the far off vision, our destination, and the mission is really how we'll get there. Back to you. Often something that's just quoted and in the material, and it doesn't necessarily embody what everyone's about. And so healthy communities really, the leaders in that community are bringing about that vision and are taking ownership of that vision and inspiring people towards it. They have a mission. So if the statement of vision doesn't match what you're actually about, maybe consider revising it. Maybe consider sitting down with your community and the leaders in your community and thinking, well, what do we care about? What are we going to be about? Because when everyone knows what you're about, then taking steps towards that become obvious. People can take initiative in that direction. But without that, you'll have everyone looking quizzically at each other in a meeting or in any time there's time to take action and just guessing and trying to do what they can to please the person in charge or just do whatever they want because no one told me anything otherwise to do, so I guess it's a free-for-all. But if you want a healthy community that's going to do things and go somewhere, you guys need a vision and you need a mission, and people need to be on board with that. So I wonder what you think. Okay, we're gonna just take a pause for a moment and discuss a counterpoint to what I have just said. Now, I've taken you here to a blog of novelist Blaine L. Pardoe, and he has some counterpoints, just talking a little bit against the idea of a mission statement. And I don't completely disagree with him. Now, here are some of the things he says. I've never met anyone that was inspired by a mission statement. If they didn't exist at all, nothing would change. Now, I don't agree with this point, but I don't disagree with him saying most departments and organizations as a whole spend considerable time crafting these garbled and confusing sentences, and that often they end up being gibberish created by a managerial committee. And he gives some examples of sort of realistic mission statements that maybe would be closer to the truth. We put the W in quality. Let's have a look at a few of these here. We recruit the very best people in the world to service our clients and crush their souls. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way in the place where they work. Our mission is to be paid on time, sooner if possible. I have definitely felt that way in my place of employment. Now, this is not to say that mission statements or vision statements are wrong and that these are maybe better examples. But what I would like to suggest is that we need to come to an agreement with our community about what is real. We need to get real with them. And our mission, our vision should be shared. It should be realistic, and it should be something that everyone buys into. And that is really hard to do. So I'd like to talk to you next about how do we get there. Many communities have these mission and vision statements that are lofty ideals, but it's hard to relate to on a day-to-day basis. The bulk of your community lives in the practical space of the now and the things and relationships in front of them. So we need to meet people there and get them to connected to the vision and mission by agreeing on shared values and making agreements about how we operate together. So I'd like to introduce you to the concept of an essential agreement. So what is an essential agreement, you may ask? Well, it's something that is used often in education, and it's when you have a group of people working together. Now, these can be students, they can be coworkers, they can be any kind of group or organization that has to function together as a team. So the hallmarks of an essential agreement is that it creates or establishes shared norms and values for that group or team. The purpose of it is to create a particular kind of environment where everyone can thrive. And for that reason, it has to be a collaborative process to come up with this agreement because everyone has to agree. It's something that the team creates together. And so by creating an essential agreement, everyone becomes involved. It's not something where a leader is dictating to everyone, this is what we're going to do, and giving marching orders. Rather, it's sort of a grassroots thing that comes from everyone agreeing this is how we work best, because every team is unique and they bring their own flavor to it. So this can be established usually in a single meeting, and I'm going to show you an example of an essential agreement for a classroom. So this was done with students, and let's have a look at that. All right, so here we have an example of what an essential agreement ended up being in a classroom. Now this is with middle school students, younger middle school students, so from about grade 6, they're about 12 years old, and this is what they decided on.
for how to operate in the classroom. They decided it was important to respect yourself and each other, that in order to have a good learning environment, that is key. That's something they valued. They also talked about the importance of using technology appropriately within the classroom, and they recognized that was something they needed to do. They recognized the importance of being safe psychologically and physically, and that they needed that in order to learn. And so they felt that that was an important agreement moving forward. And the final thing that they felt was important, and the teacher definitely agreed with this, was to take initiative. That as students, if they were stuck or had a problem, it was important for them to feel comfortable that they could ask for help from someone else or from the teacher, and that they could take initiative in that. And also even inquire as to what they want to learn more of. So I showed you that in a classroom, but this can be done in any kind of setting. I mentioned that. It's important that the individuals who are part of the community come up with it. They talk about the environment and what they value, and they create those agreements. Now, those agreements, you saw how it connected so much to the things they value. And the things they value then can be connected to the mission, the larger modus operandi of the organization, and that brings us back to the vision. So it's through these agreements that people are connected on a day-to-day basis with the ultimate mission and vision of your community, of your organization. But the agreements and values brings it in a very practical, day-to-day way. So let's next take a look on how you can create your own essential agreement and maybe sense of values for your organization members. Now, this can be done with paper and pencils and sticky notes. It can be done on a whiteboard, on a smart board, on a computer. Right here, I'm using a sort of brainstorming program called MindMeister, and you can set up your own account at mindmeister.com, and a basic account is free. And one of the things I like about doing this is that if you're at a meeting and a lot of people have their own laptops or devices, they can also log in and everyone can be sort of collaborating on this at the same time. And there are many sort of group digital collaborative tools, things like Notion and things like that. This one I just quickly pulled up as an example of something that's available online and free. So what have I done here? All right, in the center you see is our essential agreement. This is our goal for the meeting or the gathering. And let's say you're coming together as a group to decide how you want to operate those meetings moving forward. Okay, so you can attack this in a few different ways. You might want to attack it starting from people's point of pain or something they're struggling with or frustrated with. For an example, in a meeting, people might be struggling with the length of time, that meetings are taking too long, or maybe that they're not relevant to them personally. And then you're going to ask why a few times. And by understanding the why, it often links into values. And you can do this from anything. You can do it from a point of pain or struggle, or maybe people want to start with the idea that we want to have shorter meetings, or our desired outcome is to be efficient. Well, why is being efficient more important? Why isn't maybe spending time together and developing relationships important? All right, so you get the idea. So let's pretend you've had your meeting and everyone's come up with their ideas, they've dialogued through it, and they've written out on the essential agreement. Let's have a look at some of the outcomes from that. Staff, they determined that they want enough time for themselves, for the clients, and for each other. And you can see how the connections here have connected to the values. So they have determined that their relationship with their clients and collaboration are both important. They've also determined they want to be efficient and organized, but balance that with time for those relationships. And why? Because they struggle with time management, you're a growing organization, and there's so much to do for everyone. But ultimately, they've understood that they're here to serve others because people matter. And they've recognized the value of collaboration because different perspectives is value added. So what you've done here by coming up with an essential agreement, you've allowed them to be a part of the process to recognize some of the ones who maybe are frustrated with the fact that meetings take time, now are reassured that people are going to try and be efficient with their time because that's part of an agreement, but that they understand they have to be patient because they understand that as a group, we value those relationships and those collaborative moments. So this team has come up with this sort of agreement in the end. So they've agreed that if it can be in an email, it should be. They've agreed that they will stick to their agenda, which everyone will have advanced access to, maybe on a Google Doc or something like that. They've decided that they're going to assign action items and put dates and names to the minutes so that the things discussed have accountability and a time limit, again with the efficiency. And then they've decided that, you know what, it's not all about efficiency. In meetings and those collaborative moments, that is a time when we can take time for each other and get those different perspectives and get that value added so we can do our best for our clients. So moving forward with this essential agreement, everyone understands why they're doing what they're doing. And again, those values that you've identified are going to connect back ultimately to your mission and vision. And that's where, if you're in a position of leadership, you can make those connections. So you can see how essential agreements, even for just a small thing, like how are we going to conduct a meeting, can really just drive everyone in a direction that connects with why are we here, what are we here for, and just gives everyone that extra impetus and drive to keep going, keep innovating, and knowing that what their contribution matters. Let's just check in with what we've talked about and learned today, hopefully. So what is a good community, or what does a healthy community look like? And what makes a good leader in that community? Well, hopefully you've seen today how a healthy community communicates and collaborates. A healthy community knows where they are going, and a healthy community agrees on how to get there. And the job of any leader, not necessarily the leader, but any leader within that community, is really to facilitate this. So now we're going to go on to your homework, because anything we learn is useless unless we take some action on it. So for our homework, we're going to take any element that we've learned about today, whether that be creating your own vision statement. If you don't know where you're going and you're in leadership, or your community doesn't have any vision, that really needs to happen. But maybe you're not sure how to get there and you need to develop a mission statement. So that could be your homework. Maybe you're not sure what as a community you value, so you need to have that conversation with some key members of your community. Or maybe you have not yet explored what essential agreements can do for your team, your community, and how they really connect you to the vision. So I want you to choose one of these elements, and I want you to develop that this week and then post your experience on our Facebook group, because I'd love to see what you're doing, how your community is growing, and hopefully you'll be inspired by what you see from others there. So I'd encourage you to write one post and then comment on two people's. All right, I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next module. We're going to be talking about some keys that are really important values in a community that'll really facilitate not only the growth, but will help deal with infighting, with conflict, and discordant personalities that can arise. And I'd love to show you a way how to help everyone work together better. Looking forward to seeing you in the next module. Have a great week.